and Mira.
That's interesting because other people can hear me, right? Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Um, if you can't hear me, let me know in the chat right now. Gigi, I think it might just be you. 'Cause I don't think there's anyone else that can't hear. So I'm just gonna start. Okay. Super. So I think we are good. Give me 1 second. Okay. And we will be starting in 2 seconds. Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Today, we're going to be talking about betting on yourself, and we're going to get some lessons from Robin Wilson, a million-dollar business builder. So whether you're watching this via live stream or if you're in the live Zoom audience, or whether you're watching this via live stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Meta, we want you engaged and in the conversation. So please introduce yourself, your name, what city you're coming from in the comment or the chat, wherever you're dialing in from. This is not some boring presentation where you're just watching. We want you in the conversation. So your voice matters. So in the comment or chat, if you have an experience to share, if you have a quote you want to share, book recommendations, if something Robin says really resonates with you, let us know in the comments in the chat. We're building a community here. And if you want to grow your community on LinkedIn as well, feel free to add your name and a link to your LinkedIn profile so you can connect with other kind of folks who are in the community of 7 community. And once again, for those who are in the live Zoom audience, if you can, please turn on your video. I know some of you have bad hair days today, but it really helps me as a speaker, just seeing your beautiful smiling faces, right? And your expressions. And for those who are watching this via live stream, YouTube, Meta, etc., once again, we want you in the conversation, in the chat, and in the comments. Okay. So before I start, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and I want you to answer in the comment or the chat. So whether you're in the live Zoom audience or whether you're watching this via the live stream on YouTube or LinkedIn, question for you. So type it in the comment or the chat, but don't press send till I say so. So if you couldn't fail, if money wasn't an issue, what's the one thing you would do or create? If you couldn't fail, if money wasn't an issue, what's the one thing you would do or create? And that could be anything. You could travel the world, or you could start a nonprofit helping dogs. You could build the next Disneyland. What would you do if you couldn't fail, right? Type it in the comment or the chat. I'm going to count down, and then we're going to press send at the same time. 3, 2, 1, press send now. Travel. I would create a nonprofit human rights organization. I would start a youth service foundation. I would write a book. I would become an author. I love that. I would pursue my own nonprofit full time. I would create a hobby farm, rescue dogs, build myself an arts and craft barn, and create stained glass art all day. I love that, man. And I see that for you. I would come to this farm. I would be one of the first. Would I be a farmer? I don't know, a guest. Yes, I love that, man. Well, I love some of your ideas, and I know on the LinkedIn and YouTube, we have some folks kind of adding their kind of comments as well, but I love seeing some of your ideas. So let's imagine something together. Imagine being told that your dreams are too ambitious or that the odds are stacked against you. So now imagine defying all of these odds, not just surviving, but thriving and building a business that impacts millions. That's exactly what Robin Wilson, CEO of clean design homes did. Um, and I remember meeting Robin. We were both interviewed on the same show. I think it was Meltzer, Office Hours. And Robin had spoken right before I did. And I just remember just being so amazed about her story. And that's why I'm so excited to have her back. I think the last time I spoke with her was 2 years ago, and the um the attendees who came were left so inspired. So I wanted to bring her back, and she has some new things that she's launched and will tell us as well. So Robin's journey isn't just inspiring, it's proof of what is possible when you start betting on yourself, right? So whether you're thinking of starting a business or just getting a new health routine, one of the common things is you have to start believing that you can do the things that scare you the most. So with Clean Design Home, Robin built a $1 million business that's rooted in eco-friendly and hypoallergenic products. She addressed the needs of millions of people with allergies and asthma, but it wasn't an easy road. Did you know that less than 2% of venture capital goes to women of color? Yet Robin didn't let that discourage her. When she had many doors close on her for funding, she's launched her own fundraising efforts for a Blue Egg Corporation, her entity, on the fundraising platform Republic, generating thousands of fundraising funds for her company. Her brand has generated over 85 million in licensing revenue and is recognized as a trailblazer in the wellness and design space. Along the way, she's faced doubt, roadblocks, and the inevitable questions many of us ask ourselves. Am I good enough? Today, we're going to hear about how Robin tackled those challenges head on. We're going to explore how she started to bet on herself when other people didn't believe in her. And she will learn about the actionable strategies she took to turn doubt into a driver of success. If you've ever struggled with self-confidence, I know I have, or if you've ever wondered if you have what it takes to turn your dreams into reality, I think Robin's story is really going to show you that betting on yourself is not only possible, but it can lead to incredible rewards. It can lead to building your dream company. So get ready to uncover the mindset shifts, lessons, and strategies behind Robin's success and how we can apply them to our own journey. Before I introduce Robin, one last question before I do the intro. In the comments or in the chat, wherever you're dialing in from, I want you to answer this question. Don't press send till I tell you. What's holding you back from starting what you want to start? What's holding you back from starting what you want to start? And that can be anything, not just starting your own business. It could be asking that person you really, have a crush on out. It could be finishing college, right? My husband is, turning 50 this year, but he went back to get his bachelor's because that was his passion, right? And then next year or 2 years from now, he's going to go biz school at the age of 50, right? What's the one thing holding you back from starting what you want to start? Type it in the comments. Countdown 3, 2, 1, press send. Fear of criticism. Okay, fear, making time. And I think especially us with children can relate to that, just not having enough time. Doubt, right? Fear, limiting opportunities in the nonprofit world. I'm also looking at the different live streams on LinkedIn and stuff. Lack of money, lack of funding, old ways of thinking. Okay, thank you, everyone. So let me uh, Robin's gonna come back in a second, I think. Let me introduce her. So,
My
Robin
camera
Wilson,
died. Of course,
you're
this is
like,
that moment,
ooh,
right?
I like your bookshelf though.
Thank you. My bookshelf is probably the one that everyone has in their backdrop when they're doing their fake backgrounds. So anyway,
I love that. So, Robin Wilson is the CEO of Clean Design Home. She's a founder of $1 million eco lifestyle brand specializing in hypoallergenic, sustainable, and wellness-focused products addressing the needs of allergy and asthma sufferers around the world. Uh, my daughter has severe allergies, and I mean, what you're doing, Robin, is so important. She's also a trailblazer in business, recognized as one of Inc. magazine's female founder 100 in 2020. Her brand has achieved over 85 million in licensed revenue. She's a best-selling author, published multiple books, including Clean Design Wellness for Your Lifestyle, which empowers readers to create healthy and sustainable living spaces. She also has another book coming out, which she will talk about. She is an industry pioneer, the first Black woman to license a global textile brand focused on hyperallergenic bedding, making waves in both design and wellness industries. She's an advocate and a role model, a powerful voice for diversity, resilience, and betting on yourself. And she inspires millions to overcome challenges and pursue their dreams and confidence. So without further ado, Robin, welcome. Welcome back, I should say.
everyone, thank you so much, Lan, for having me. And it's such a good thing to do this at the start of the year because a lot of us
Yes.
maybe in 2024 we achieve certain things, but we need a little bit of inspiration for 2025. I hope to be able to provide that to all the listeners. And I want to thank you
I
again for the
agree.
community of seven.
I agree 100%. And I'm in this weird, I was just talking to my friend Josh earlier today, who just called me out of the blue. And I was just saying, I'm in this weird funk, like after Christmas and New Year's, there's this weird period where you wearing your pajamas every day. You're not sure what day it is. And you're just kind of like, food coma. And you're just like, what the hell? And I'm trying to be productive and I'm trying to get like, you know, kick January, with a big bang. But I'm just kind of rolling out of bed sometimes and just like, oh,
Well,
how do I
let,
get the wheel
let me let
starting?
me let me start by saying to everyone, we all have moments where we are not giving 100%. But if you're going to build a brand and the brand is first to you, you must every day do something to move yourself and the brand forward. It's not it's not the big grand gesture. It could be as simple as reviewing your file cabinet and throwing out old stuff so you can have space for the new stuff. It's doing something for 10 to 20 minutes every single day. And what most people don't realize is as you're building your company, as you're building your brand, uh, all it takes is it takes focus. It takes a niche. So if I had to say to people, what are the four things that you need to do right now in order to build a brand? You need to, one, know what your niche is or decide that you're going to own that niche. The second thing is have a platform in order to tell people about what you're doing. So that could be PR, marketing, of course, social media. Third, as I said, do something every day, but make a timeline so you actually have a plan and accountability for it. And then number four, partnerships. Partnerships could be social media. Certainly, it could be a retail or wholesale channel. But what you need to make sure is that you are strategically doing something toward your plan. Again, niche, platform, do something every day with a timeline so you're accountable. And number four, partnerships.
I love that. And I love how you kind of mentioned, just do something, right? My book, Do This Daily, is all about the small things we can do daily. And I mentioned I was talking to my friend Josh this morning, and I was like, "So what have you been up to?" And he was like, "Well, I cleaned, my kitchen, like cupboards." And for him, like I think there's something about you're having a clean space and just not having clutter, like especially when I'm working around my desk. And like all those little things, if you part of starting a business is just starting with yourself and your surroundings, right? Because if you're in clutter, if you're in chaos, right? If you have you know, and we've all done this. We've dropped like a sock or something in the corner of the room and we don't pick it up for a week, like till a week later,
Right,
right?
right, right. And
Pick up
the
that
same
sock.
the same also goes as you're building your business. And we can talk about that process
Yeah.
in a moment, but these are just some of the basics. Think about this. Write this down, everyone. ABC or 1, 2, 3. If you're an entrepreneur, you need a great accountant, or excuse me, great attorney, you need a great bookkeeper, and you need cash flow, or you will have $1.23 in your bank account. ABC,
Mhm.
1, 2, 3. So just like Lan spoke about the sock in the corner, if you don't get the right team around you, then that is something that's just holding you back and you don't even realize it. The attorney, they're going to make sure you have the right contracts to protect you and your business. The bookkeeper, make sure they're paying the taxes. And don't forget, some of the rules have changed where if you do sell things online, you still have to pay tax in that particular state where someone received the items. Just make sure you know what those rules are so that you don't have $1.23 in your pocket.
I love that. And let's actually rewind a little bit because you have some folks who are on this call who love you and who follow you wherever you go. And then you have some people that might be new to, you know, what the amazing things that you've done and
Sure.
created. So
So,
tell us a little bit about your background, how you grew
sure.
up, and your journey from the corporate world to starting Robin Wilson Home and then Clean Design Home.
Sure. So everyone, I grew up in Austin, Texas. Pan allergic. Pan allergic means you're allergic to dust, smoke, food. You're basically a bubble child. Um, and unfortunately, this was the 70s, so I've just dated myself. Uh, my parents had the regular doctor who said, get the steroid medication. That's the easy button. But my mom felt that was a little too easy. So she went to what they call a holistic or hippie practitioner. And this guy said, you can raise a strong child or you can raise a child on strong medicine. My mom said, I want the strong child. So immediately it was dietary changes from Tang to real orange juice, to exercise, not the couch potato version, and any other number of choices that they made that were very hard at the time. For example, leave the shoes at the front door, get rid of the shag carpet and have hardwood floors. Make sure the pets are outside and clean. Learn how to clean so that the allergic triggers, which were dust or smoke or pollutants, might not affect me. Now, that's early, that's the 70s. So I would almost say I was like the canary in the coal mine because some of the things you see today is um, it's more endemic. And back then, I was a kid who went to second grade, right? I'm in second grade. They serve grilled cheese sandwiches at lunch. I say I'm allergic. The teacher is of the Clean Your Plate Club, and that teacher said, nope, there are starving children in Africa. You have to eat your grilled cheese sandwich. I said, you need to call my mom. This teacher says, you're being really a smart Alec. I take a bite. Anaphylaxis within moments. I'm rushed to the hospital. I spend weeks in the hospital. And that's one of those moments where it's A, you can die. B, I think people started paying attention. And C, you kick your parents because they didn't sue the school district at the time. Because then I might not be working right now. Just kidding. But I say this to say what I do know is everyone has a different allergic trigger. And most people don't realize that 1 in 5 people, that's 60 million Americans, suffer from asthma or allergies or both. So I would say to each of you, if you raised your hand, because I think you can push the raise your hand button, I bet you we're going to see a lot of hands go up with people who know someone or they personally suffer. Fast forward. What is it like to be the child who can't go to the pizza party, but to eat pizza, but they bring their own little snacks? That's really hard, right? It's isolating, and you certainly feel different or other. What is it like when you are in corporate America and you have an event and you are maybe wheezing and sneezing that day because of pollen in the air and you just can't go, or you go and you've got Kleenex, or you're the kid with Kleenex in their backpack. That was my early beginning. Fast forward, I had a professor who, after I got my master's in real estate finance from NYU, he said, Robin, you are going to change the world. You're nice, but you're firm. You're polite, but you can be very pointed in what you need and want in a nice way. And he said, as a Black woman, you're not going to be a developer, even though that's your degree from NYU. But you can do something with your degree that you don't even realize. You came out of corporate America working at an executive search firm, and you have a golden Rolodex. Now, I want to say this. When you have someone in your life who does that, who helps you really see through the forest, that's called a sponsor or a mentor. Most people don't know the difference. A sponsor will open the door for you. A mentor will guide you. He was a mentor. Fast forward, I say, okay, I'll start using my Rolodex and I'll figure out what to do. He said, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to be a project manager. A project manager to me was a person who was on a high-rise building and they managed the electrician and whatever. He said, but very wealthy people, Robin, have multiple homes and they need a project manager. And I'm sure with your manner and your focus, you'll be able to make this happen. So against all odds, I could have focused on the I can't get funding moment, or I could have followed my mentor's suggestion. I followed my mentor's suggestion. We built a business from 0 to $1.8 million in 18 months. I happened to treat a very small client like they were royalty. They had a very small apartment in Manhattan. And that person told someone who told someone who told an Oprah connection. So part of building your brand is also recognizing there are people who are in the room with you today who will shout, hopefully, and amplify your brand and you as a person, even when you're not in the room. And it's really important to be in the room with positive people who amplify you, your voice, your vision. Because if you're not, and you're around those people who are, I don't know if you can do that. I'm not sure if you can do that. That's your circle who's amplifying you out into the world. So you are what you think about, who you surround yourself with, and what your mindset is. Take that in and remember that. The next thing that I will say, so these are pivot points in my life. Growing up, I talk about the holistic doctor peripherally, but I'll simply say he was into microdosing. That means you get a little bit of peanut butter, you get a little bit of whatever, you have the reaction in his office, he fixes it, and so on until you have a tolerance for things. Fast forward, I go into corporate America, I pivot to be an entrepreneur. I get a sponsor, mentor to guide me, build the business. At a certain point, my clients were like, you can do this, you can design our homes, just do it. Oprah's team takes notice. I start seeing a following, and then I get a licensing deal. The first licensing deal I had was kitchen cabinets. We sold 82 million wholesale with 400 independent dealers nationwide. We beat Martha by 2 years, by the way. But as a woman of color, I knew I needed to, in certain places in the world, keep my head down and just be the brand, if that makes sense. Meaning, we were called Robin Wilson Home, but I didn't need to be the front face. I needed to do the news. I needed to do the articles, become the expert, but I didn't need to sometimes be the face in certain communities. Now that's minimizing, right? Most people would be like, gosh, you're pulling yourself down. And I'm like, no, during that time, I'm becoming an expert and well known in print, through books, through speaking engagements, and with the product being the actual platform. Fast forward, um, in 2020, I think I spoke to Lan about this. I was ready to quit. I was ready to quit because actually your statistics are a little off, Lan. Women get only 0.2% of the venture capital financing. Women of color only get 0.02%. And that is tragic. But I was like, I'm going to quit. I can't do this. I'm just not, I should have more money right about this time. But someone told me about the power of intention. What is your intention? I spoke to a mentor, and this mentor said, maybe the world has changed from having your name at the front, and maybe you need to consider rebranding it. Your book is a bestseller. Could it be something about clean? So we toyed with Robin Wilson clean. Then we toyed with it's clean. And then I said, clean design home. So in 2020, we rebranded and everything took off. In fact, since 2020, we've had a 40x growth in the business. So I want to tell all of you, in 1960, 70, there was the Ralph Lauren, the Martha Stewart, the Vera Wang. Today, you're seeing Magnolia Home, for example, Clean Design Home. You aren't seeing the Chip and Joanna Company. So I want to urge all of you to sort of think outside of the box. And the reason for that is you might be able to sell your company a lot easier if it's not your name. I hope that helps you see around the corner for the future.
I love that. I mean, I think two things I got from that. One is perseverance, not quitting when things get hard, and to just believe in yourself. That whole notion of like betting on yourself, right?
Right. And
Um,
taking what you know. I mean, if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book about the tipping point, my 10,000 hours of childhood and allergic reactions is the bottom line foundation for what I do today.
yeah, yeah. You're essentially a subject matter expert from experience.
Correct. Correct.
Um,
Now, one other thing I want to talk about brand, and again, grab your pens because I'm going to say this, and all of a sudden it's probably going to click to all of you. A lot of people on their teams or with their teams and people around them will hear, do this, do that, do this, do that. And so your head is sort of spinning. You're like, okay, I'll do a new website. I'll do a new social media. I'm going to tell you three things before you do any decision in business. Ask yourself, is it one, critical? Is it essential? Is it enhancing? Okay, now I'm going to give you a scenario that's outside of business and you'll get what I'm saying. If you're taking a trip from New York to LA, okay, what is critical? You need gas in your car, right? You need money to get across the country. Essential would be maybe you need food that you've packed in the car, right? Because you just don't want to stop. It's essential, but you could still make the journey uh, along the way if you don't have your phone, for example, or whatever. Enhancing is air conditioning. Enhancing is tinted windows. Enhancing is cool sunglasses. Do you need them? You might want them. Does that make sense? So in business, is it critical that you have the newest computer? Is it critical that your website be redone every 3 weeks? No, that's enhancing. So when you're scheduling your day, ask what's critical, do that. Enhancing, maybe it's something like writing a press release. Enhancing would be your office being clean. I hope that helps all of you because We have about 10,000 decisions we make every day. And you need to decide, are you going to return every single phone call today? That's essential at some point, but it's really enhancing because you need to return only the critical phone calls.
I love that. That's such a great advice. And I think about the whole like enhancing as well. What I hear a lot from friends in terms of who want to start a business is, oh, well, it's already been done. It's already been done, right?
Do it
And
better. Do
do
it
it
better.
better. Exactly. Like even like if every songwriter were to think that no songs would get made, right?
Correct.
Because everyone has written a love song, a
Correct.
breakup song, or whatnot. But what you are creating can touch the right audience, right?
Correct.
And you're enhancing that experience. Maybe it's from your perspective as a woman of color, as a man, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, it's like understand that what you're creating is not for everyone. It's
Correct.
for the right people that need to touch what you're, so what you
Right.
created in terms of changing the market in terms of, you know, home kind of
Right.
like hyperallergenic was not being done at that time. It was
Well,
revolutionary, right?
hypoallergenic products existed, but they were beige or white, and they were often ugly and scratchy. What we did is we
Yeah.
injected fashion into this whole category. So we
Yeah.
have 400 thread count sheets that are woven at a zero point 0.5 micron, so bed bugs can't get through them. And also,
Wow.
if you have dust mites, which we all do on our skin, they go into the fabric, but they can't come back up. So what happens then without any chemicals is you have a luxury bed product. You have towels that are made of long strand cotton, so it doesn't lint as much. And remember, lint attracts dust, and dust causes allergies. So
Yeah.
everything we did was geared toward the down alternative pillow, for example, versus a down pillow. I've actually coined the term allergen aware because I believe hypoallergenic is not accurate. I might be allergic to something, but you are not. So I say allergen aware. We tell you what's in it, and then you can make your own decision. Now, I'll tell everyone
Yeah.
this is a funny thing. They say, oh, I don't need an allergen aware pillow, or I don't need a hypoallergenic pillow. And then they see the circles around their eyes and they're using tons of makeup to cover it up. And I'm like, when was the last time you washed or replaced your pillow? And most people grimace, and some people say, oh, it's my college pillow. I'm like, you're 45. And so when I say to them, if you think about your pillow as it's something you drool on, you have hair dander, you have all sorts of stuff. If you can fold your pillow up right now, your bed pillow, and it doesn't bounce back, it means it weighs more than the day you bought it. Now, everyone on this is grimacing right now because you know you have that old pillow. And then you also know when you go on vacation and you go to, wherever you go and you stay in the hotel, all of a sudden the circles clear up and you breathe better. And you're just like, oh, I feel so good. 3 days later, you come back home, you've got the circles again, and you're wheezing and sneezing. It could be your pillow. You can put
Wow.
all the air purifiers you want in your room, but if you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping on a dirty pillow, you could be affecting your health.
Wow. Um, I want to kind of go back to your story about Oprah. So you have this fantastic story about Old
Oh,
Magazine and the importance
okay.
of returning phone calls. Can you
Yes.
please tell the story?
So everyone return. Remember I said earlier, there's three things: critical, essential, and enhancing. Okay. So there are moments in your life when you're like focused on enhancing. Enhancing is chatting with your friends, having cool lunches, maybe going to the store and finding a new outfit. And you just don't return your phone calls. Essential is making sure that you do return your phone calls. And critical is returning very important phone calls. So you're going to laugh. I received a phone call from someone on Oprah's team, and I thought I was being pranked. I didn't return the phone call. I was like, yeah, whatever. Ha ha. The next day, they called again. I didn't return the phone call. I was like, I'm being frank. This is a spam call. But the third day they called and they said, pick up an Oprah magazine, look at my name. If you don't return the phone call, we'll go to the next person on the list. I returned that phone call. And that person changed my life. They would be what you would call a sponsor. They opened the door. Now, what they did is two things. The first thing is they interviewed me. We talked for about an hour. And then at the very end, he said, why do you call your business at that time WSG Consulting? Because I wasn't being the brand, y'all. You need to hear that. I was being a business person. I said, well, if I fail, then nobody will know. Ha 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 ha. He did not giggle with me. He looked at me and said, you've been in business 5 years, which most people don't even get to 5 years at that time. He said, and you're telling me you still don't believe in yourself? That you want to call your company WSG Consulting, which sounds like a dentist or an accountant's office, instead of a design firm. So no one will know if you fail. He said, you know what? I've enjoyed this conversation with you, but if you don't put your name in it or change the name, I'm not running the story. Now, how many of you are wedded to the name of your company? Or I've got stationery and business cards, but maybe you got feedback from someone that said, if you named your company X, it would be more effective. Well, at that moment, I was like, oh, you won't run the Oprah story. Oh my gosh, right? Most people wouldn't hear it, they would hear it as criticism. What I heard is, do this and change your life. I left the office that day, got on GoDaddy.com and typed my name. And the choice, the first or second choice that came up was Robin Wilson Home. Bought it and spent the next 8 hours learning how to do a website. And the next day when he called, he said, well, what did you decide? I said, well, look at my brand new website. And it was that moment when he knew I was ready to say yes to the future and not to the past. So from then, again, that's Robin Wilson Home. That worked for a big period of time. But in 2020, to rebrand and then have Inc. magazine top 100 female founders, Ellen launched my brand. I got my first hospitality client. Now we have 45, and they're amazing hotel flags. And to have the goal is not good enough. To have your circle around you, again, you are what you think about. And if you're thinking about someone else and gossiping about them, then you're looking at them and putting the spotlight on them. Does that make sense? In a negative way. And you've heard about karma, it'll come back and hit you. So what you need to do is focus positively on them and say, I hope to emulate them. Or stop thinking your negative thoughts. It's about you. It's about what you think. It's about who you surround yourself with. Don't forget that if you are around people who are, when you say, I'm so excited about something, and they little your big achievement, and your big achievement could be as simple as you got a mention in the local newspaper, or you were on TV, and you have someone in your circle who's like, yeah, but it's just local TV. You don't need to be around that person. They littled your big accomplishment. And then finally, what is your plan? Going back to, if you have a great mindset, but you keep holding yourself back for the right day or the right time, do something good for your business every single day, and you will see the progress.
So I think what's so powerful about your story is that it really speaks on the significance of recognizing opportunities. Okay, maybe it took you 3 times, but recognizing opportunities when they come. But more importantly, being ready and prepared when that opportunity comes. Because you could have easily got on and said, oh, well, no, what you did was you learned how to create a website. You came up with the name. You were action oriented, right?
Correct.
And I think it really resonated with kind of my experience too. Like for the longest time, I didn't post as myself, like, in terms of social media. Everything was done under my business community of 7. And it was really that one time where I went to go see my mom who has advanced stage dementia. And I'm sitting in between her and my daughter. And I realized that I was playing small. And that wasn't the lesson I wanted my daughter to learn from me. And I looked at my daughter, my mom, and was just thinking she had sacrificed her whole life. She was a hairdresser for like 30 years, 40 years, and she had left everything, stayed in a marriage that was a little bit rough for the family. And if I were to live a small life, I would be doing an injustice to her, right?
Right.
By playing small.
Right.
And so started just posting every day. I started doing these calls. And I don't think I would have written a book. I don't think I would have, spoken all over the world if I did not start betting on myself, because I was happy being the behind the scenes person for decades. That was my default. I'm happy
Yes.
behind the scenes. And the part of betting on yourself is really about doing the things that make you feel the most uncomfortable,
And we also
right?
have to remember we will have imposter syndrome. We will feel like we're not good enough. But remember, everyone in the room feels that way. We forget that. It's our superpower to be self critical, but that does not mean you should be self defeating. And as I said to you, Lan, at the very beginning when we first met, I honor my ancestor. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was a sharecropper who picked cotton in Texas. Now I have a global brand with products made of cotton that comes from Texas and California.
Wow. That, can you imagine
Would my
what
grandfather,
your ancestors would be
right,
thinking right now?
exactly. And so every day that you do something, you have to remember everyone comes from an origin story, whether it's allergies, whether it's maybe their grandmother was a seamstress, but they don't understand why they love to create clothing. There's there's a genesis or origin story for all of us. Honor that and find your niche. Again, going back to what we said earlier, find your niche, then your platform. The platform is developed by PR, it's developed by social media, it's developed sometimes by speaking engagements and articles. Maybe you become the expert on something. A lot of people think that their idea is so small and it might be life changing for someone else.
I love that. And so if you were to give advice to any aspiring entrepreneurs who might be on this call or watching this via the live stream, what advice would you give to these individuals looking to start their own business but are held back by self-doubt or lack of funding?
Right. Uh, every business owner from Jeff Bezos to the rest of them started in their home, their garage, their living room, maybe a rented office, maybe even a Starbucks cafe. Start small, dream big, and make sure you have a team. Um, I use the term hire slow, fire fast. When you find someone who is absolutely smarter than you in a certain area, don't be intimidated by them. You want that person on your team. To be a CEO, most people think the CEO is smarter than everyone in the room. That's not the case. The CEO should be a person who is very good at selecting talent, and ultimately, they will not be the smartest person in the room. They've hired the best and the brightest in marketing and sales and engineering or sewing or whatever. And you hire that great team, let them create a strategy with you, and then just let them do their job. But if they don't do their job, bye bye, right? They're supposed to be smarter than you. And the one thing is they also have to share your vision and passion. Because when they do, they will be thinking about your business when we're all sleeping, as they say. You shouldn't be coming in the room saying, do this. You should be saying, how can we solve something? And everybody in the room is sort of thinking about that with you. Oh no, we aren't doing, Lan just put up there my fundraisers through Republic. We finished our crowdsource 2 years ago. And the best part of that, crowdsource is okay, by the way, but I would say don't do it unless you know you can raise at least $500,000. The fees associated with crowdfunding can be very high with
Mhm.
accredited accounting and other things. But the best thing about it is you end up with ambassadors. So instead of just 10 friends and family, you end up with like 1,000 people who gave 10 or $20, but now they're loyal to your brand.
I love that. I kind of want to open it up for questions right now. We have about a little bit less than, or about 10 minutes or so. Does anyone have a questions? You could do the raise hand emoticon, or you can let me know in the comments. Anyone have a question? Oh, I think Jason, do you want to, let me find, you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Robin, it's such a pleasure to meet you and Lan. It's always great to be able to join you through these events. Robin, my name is Jason Springer. I'm the founder of Jason's Power of Partnership, also known as JPOP. I founded my company last year due to the great influence of Lan and her community. I'm so grateful to meet with you, speak with this group. I love the fact that you started out talking about doing something every day, what your niche might be, where those important partnerships are, the platform in which you want to display. I really appreciate, there are a number of things that you've spoken to already today that have really helped me understand that I'm in that moment as a solopreneur where I'm much more about direction than I am speed. And the thoughtful question that I wanted to ask is, how can someone who wants to be intentional, wants to be authentic, wants to really serve through their own authentic service-oriented way, but without getting too far out in front of themselves or getting too much information from too many sources, right?
Yes.
So what I'd like to ask is, how can that starting point and that momentum from whether it's the first step or the first 10 steps or however many steps are in your journey, how can you very calculatedly plot along the way? Because I don't have that problem with self-doubt, but what I do have the challenge with is how much can I drink from this cup and then go to the
Yes.
next cup and then the next one. So how do
Well,
you kind of, partner that all out?
I'm going to give you a simple thing. Write down on a piece of paper 10 things you want to accomplish between now and the end of the year, almost like a bucket list for your business. And pick the one thing that will propel your business forward. You likely will accomplish that in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It could be a website, right? And you do that. Then you go to the second thing on the list. And by the end of the year, if you've accomplished those 10 things, your business will be in a very different place than the person who says, I hope to have a bigger business by the end of the year. It's almost like that 10 things will be your report card. And when you finish them, likely you will have, the way to do it is, here's my 10 things. You pick the most important one and then do a second list with a blank sheet of paper with that thing at the top. And then the 5, maybe 6 steps you need to do to get that done. You will find your 10 list will be accomplished much more rapidly than just having ideas and post-it notes all over your office. I hope that helps.
Oh, it's great. And because Lan has been doing such a great job of shining her light and her wisdom, it motivated and propelled me forward during a very tumultuous time in my life with COVID and cancer and my wife. This all brought me to a place of, for the days that I have left to serve in this world, how can I make an impact and a difference? And I appreciate the way in which you're doing that through your passion. And again, I'm always grateful for Lan to host these things. So I wish you both a wonderful day and thank you for your time.
Good luck with your I'm going to call it your bucket
Jason.
list for your business. Good luck with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And I think Jason, in the comments you had also said, is there a way we can get a hold of Robin? I put her LinkedIn profile, and maybe if you can message her directly and ask her if she'd be okay with connecting with you as well. So Denley, I have a question from Denley. Let me add you on the spotlight, and if you can just unmute. Hi, Denley. What's your question for Robin?
Hey, Lana, happy New Year to you and others, and especially Robin. Thank you for your time. Yeah, Denley McIntosh, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and the Coach's Corner podcast that I do. And a lot of the things I do on the podcast is about self-worth and understand who you are and the space that you occupy. And I guess my question is related to the space you occupy. When did you, assuming that you've accrued a bit of wealth at your end, when did you start to believe that this is me? And I guess it goes back to the whole point of imposter syndrome. Like this is who I'm walking into.
Oh my goodness.
First question, and part B would be, you've changed your business? How did your business change you?
Oh my. That's a whole coffee conversation. I'm gonna do the as they say, the 1,000,000-foot answer. The first time I realized I was me, if that makes sense, is I wrote my book, Clean Design Wellness for Your Lifestyle. And I did a book signing at the Architectural Digest Home Show in New York. And it may have been the book prior, actually. And there were 15,000 people who came out to hear me speak. And I sat there and my hand was cramped at the end. I sat there for 2 hours signing books and talking and greeting people. And they wanted my advice about maybe their child was wheezing and sneezing and maybe they were, and how I had changed their life. That was the first time it just hit me, like all these people came from all over New York and surrounding towns or states to see me speak. That was, and then you go on a book tour and you have the same kind of reaction. I think that was the first question. When did I realize it was me? The second was, how did it change me? So I think what I realized is I had then a responsibility to make sure I had accurate information, good products, that I had clauses in my licensing agreement for manufacturers that they would not have child labor or slave labor or unsafe conditions for workers. Like I knew that I had a platform that I could actually have a voice in how people are treated who make the products that we sell. I also knew, and this sounds crazy, that I had a voice that could amplify my community of color on a global basis, not as an athlete or musician or whatever, but to be a business person paving a way and paying homage to people like B. Smith or Paul R. Williams, the architect who did LAX Airport. And then I call it all the workers who were homemakers and helped make people's homes special places, like my grandmother. And so I honored my grandmother in the last book because she, again, my paternal side of the family was not very well off, sharecropper, housekeeper, but she had a book. So when my mom was trying to get the house clean, they didn't turn to commercial products at the store. My grandmother was like lemon juice, baking soda, vinegar, all those cleaning solutions that were at home already. Apple cider vinegar, toothpaste for cleaning tile and the rings around your stove. And I don't know if you know, but Coca-Cola can actually clean toilet rings. So all these homemade remedies.
Not a good thing.
Yeah, you're putting Coca-Cola in
Makes
you.
you think about drinking it.
In you, right? So all those things became part of my legacy that I could amplify. I hope that answers it at a 1,000,000 square foot level.
So we have a
Yeah,
let. Oh, sorry.
And by the
yeah.
way, I will say this, at one point, I was ashamed of that heritage. Because it was like, oh, what do your grandparents do? Oh, they're lawyers. What do your grandparents do? Oh, so I say this to anyone on this call, lean into where your family and ancestors came from. You may have someone 4 generations ago who is an entrepreneur and you didn't even know it.
Mhm.
Go on to ancestry.com, find out their history, and you might all of a sudden realize that seed was planted in you somewhere a long, long time ago. And now it's your opportunity to sprout that and blossom that.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Well,
We have a
thank you
question from
for.
Alicia. But before that,
Thank
I
you,
wanted
Dinley.
to,
Oh yeah, I
I
just said
want,
look for you on LinkedIn. Thank you. Thank you, Lan.
yeah. So we have a question from Alicia, but before I have her unmute her, Pantelis has a question. Was it difficult to use your name in your brand? When you did, were there changes you didn't expect?
Yes, it is difficult to use your name in a brand because sometimes people, if you haven't gotten to a certain place, they assume you're a home-based business, number one. Number
Mm.
two, you have to deal with, as a woman, people are calling your name, and you're like, is it business? Is it home? Is it versus now clean design home? I know when someone references that, they're not talking about me, the person, and I have a little bit more privacy by not having my name in my business.
I love that. So last but not least, we have a question from Alicia. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Oh. I was like, where am I?
And
Well,
by the
thank
way,
you, first of
if you
all.
need me to stay another 5 minutes, I'm prepared to do so if there are a few more questions.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So last question here, Alicia.
Yes, so I am curious, and thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm curious about, I guess, your strategy for finding the right talent, particularly the CEO, or in my case, I run a nonprofit organization, and I'm really at a point of reorganization. And so I can appreciate everything that you have shared here because that's where I am. It's like starting over, a reset. But I understand that I need people around me. I need those folks to help support me. I can't do it alone, but finding the right people who aren't just on your board or just there filling a seat. Um, what would be your advice?
I fight that question every day, and there is no answer. I'm going to tell you that one of the things that I have done is I've gone to a website called Upwork, and tested people through Upwork, and then ultimately hired one or two of those people from Upwork. There's also a group called oh gosh, the Mom Project. And the Mom Project has people who have amazing skills, but they had babies, and maybe they didn't go back to the company that they were at, but they are like the top marketing person at a major corporation, and they now need to work part-time, or they want to work part-time. You can find great talent through that. I have one of my top salespeople. I found them through the Mom Project, and you can say, I want you to work 10 hours a week, but they have corporate experience. You're not training them from square zero. Those are two outlets. As far as picking someone, I'm going to use the term again, hire fast, hire slow, fire fast. It's painful to do, but you must not pay someone a check and not pay yourself. I've done that one time too many. Last year, I was guilty of that when we did a pop-up retail store. And I said to the 8 staff who I walked in one day and they were on their phones. And we had 0 sales that day. And it was a Saturday. And what I know, everybody goes to the mall on Saturday. And so I walked in at like 1 o'clock and I said to myself, and this is the moment when I knew it was time to close the store, but we had a bit longer on the pop-up. I said to myself, I have 1 child, not 8 children. So I went in there worked the door, did whatever we had to do. And we ended that day from 0 sales at 1 o'clock to over $6,000 in sales that day.
Wow.
Now that tells
Wow.
you that some people, as you say, they phone it in, they're sitting in the seat, and you need to just say bye-bye and keep chasing your dream. But you know what? You're gonna laugh. Opening a pop-up retail store was on my bucket list for things to do
Mhm.
that year. So I learned about people, I learned about hiring, I learned what I don't want to do if I ever open a store again. That was a valuable lesson. I could look at it through the lens of, oh my God, we lost a little bit of money, but I could also look at it through the lens of, oh my gosh, what did I learn? What did I learn?
Yeah.
So
I love
everything you
that.
do in business, as one would say, has a silver lining. If you focus on the negative, you will manifest that. If you focus on, I'll give you one example. Many people will go to a networking event. Their goal is to walk the room and be the socialite. My goal when I go to an event like that is to get 3 business cards, 3, not 30, 3. Have a deep conversation with someone that I can follow up with. If you say
Mm.
to yourself, I moved my business forward by meeting 3 people who I might connect with, there's 30 people in the room. They're wandering around like little ants to chit chat with everyone. But if you meet someone and they say, oh, I can connect you to someone who can do all of your pick and pack shipping, for example. I know the person who owns the warehouse. Oh my gosh, that's a very valuable card,
Mhm, mhm.
right? So 3 cards, you might talk to 30 people, but you want to leave with just 3 cards.
Thank
I love
you.
that.
Thank you. I love it.
So kind of closing up now, how can people find you? I mean, you mentioned you have a book coming out soon.
Yes.
Let us know how we can kind of help support what you guys do. And I know, is your product still in Macy's? I know you have a license.
Yep.
too.
We're at
Okay.
Macy's, we're at BELK, we are on Wayfair. Clean Design Home is Macy's, BELK, Wayfair, every branch of the military at the PX bases. We have an online store called Shop Clean Design. Should we issue a code for your followers, Lan?
I would love that. Yeah, let's do you
Okay.
want to
So why
either
don't we tell everyone now, and it will be working in about an
okay.
hour. So we're going to call it LAN 7, LAN 7.
Woo!
Okay. And we'll have that working an
I've
hour.
never
We'll
been a
give you,
code before.
yeah, and so if y'all buy LAN, we'll know. And what will happen is we'll do, I think, 15% off of whatever's on our website. And if it's over $100, we ship. Yes, you can get it in Toronto. And we ship by UPS. And if it's over $100, it's free shipping. So I will tell you this: we have a great product. We need people to spread the word. This is going to be a year of recalibration where I'm going to start being a little more visible. And I look forward to, if we see LAN 7 getting used a lot, then LAN, you know, I'm going to have to do a bigger discount for your team. So thank
Yeah.
you all.
Well, this has been on my bucket list to be a coupon code somewhere. So you made me achieve my
LAN,
dream.
so everyone, in about an hour, so on January 7th and at about 2 p.m. Eastern time, a code will go live, all caps, LAN 7, and it will be 15% off anything on our shopcleandesign.com website store. What I want to thank all of you for is understanding that everyone starts off with an idea, and then they have to do 3 things. They have to do something every day. They have to make sure they own or understand their niche. And most importantly, decide, is it critical, essential, or enhancing? So you can make the right decision about what to focus on during your workday.
I love that. So everyone on your right to us, those who are in the Zoom audience, put this in gallery mode. This is the only time I ask you to unmute and also put on your video, because we need to give a round of applause for Robin. Woohoo, Robin!
Thank you,
Thank you so
Robin.
much.
Thank
This
you.
was the energy that I needed to start 2025, and you gave all of it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you all.
joining.
Thank you.
You
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
next
Thanks,
Thank you.
Robin.
call.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Lan.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Robin.
Thanks, Robin. Lan, 7 discount, 15%.
Got it.